I woke up to hammering, not the friendly weekend fix-up-the-porch kind, but the sharp metallic thud of steel biting dirt. The kind that has no business in the quiet rhythm of a Saturday morning in a rural neighborhood like ours. I thought maybe the neighbor's putting in a shed, maybe someone's fixing a fence. But then I saw it. And I swear for a second I thought I was dreaming. A tall black metal fence was crawling across my property line like it had always been there, slicing right through my vegetable garden posts, spaced with military precision men in neon vests moving like they'd rehearsed this scene 100 times. I stumbled out onto the porch in bare feet blinking against the sun. "Hey, what is this?" I shouted over the clang of their tools. One guy, mid-30s, beard-mirrored shades, didn't even bother to take his ear protection off. Just muttered, "HOA orders." I laughed like he'd just told me the moon was moving to Kansas. "I don't have an HOA. He gave me the smirk, the kind you'd give someone you think is too dumb to read their own mail. "You do now. New development rules." That's when it hit me like a slap. They weren't just putting up a fence, they were planting a claim. And if they thought I was going to roll over and let them sink their claws into my land, they were in for a rude awakening. Before I could get another word in, she appeared, Mara. Tailored navy blazer, crisp white blouse, clipboard tucked under one arm, sunglasses reflecting the morning light like she was here to inspect a crime scene. "Mr. Jacobs," she said, voice sugar-coated with the kind of politeness you only use when you think you're in control. "I'm Mara, president of the Oak Ridge Homeowners Association. I'm here to inform you that as of last month, your property now falls under our jurisdiction." "Jurisdiction," I said, almost laughing. "That's not possible. I didn't sign anything." "Oh, you don't have to," she chirped, flipping her clipboard open like she was reading from a script. "The HOA board voted to expand the community boundaries. This fence marks the new division." I pointed to the line cutting through my garden. "And you're putting it through my tomatoes." "Yes," she said without a blink. "And since part of the land beyond this fence is now considered HOA communal property, you'll need to pay monthly rent to use it." I barked out a laugh that probably startled the guy driving the post into my zucchini bed. "You've got to be kidding me." Her tone didn't change. "Failure to pay will result in fines and potential legal action." Something about the way she said it calm, rehearsed final, told me this wasn't about the money. This was about control. And I've never been the type to hand over my keys just because someone rattles them in my face. That afternoon, I paced my porch like a caged dog, staring at that shiny black fence slicing my land in half. The sun caught on each post like it was mocking me. Mara's voice echoed in my head, "You'll need to pay monthly rent," like I was some tenant squatting on my own property. I called the HOA office, got patched through to Mara herself. "Yes, Mr. Jacobs, I understand your concerns," she said in that same syrupy tone, but the expansion was legally approved. "You'll receive all documentation soon." "Legally approved without my consent," I shot back. "Show me the paperwork." She hesitated just a beat before saying she'd email it. When it landed in my inbox the next morning, I skimmed it, my stomach dropping. Buried under all the legal jargon was one brutal fact. They'd found a loophole in the county's zoning laws to annex my land. But they'd made a mistake. They'd never sent me direct notice. They'd mailed out a generic flyer to current residents, but not a specific notification to me, which the law required. The county zoning clerk confirmed it. Their paperwork was incomplete. I had an opening. So I set up a meeting. Mara sat behind her polished desk clipboard, ready smile fixed. I laid it all out, the improper notice, the fence in my garden, the rent demand. She didn't flinch. "The board is prepared to enforce compliance, including fines." I smiled right back. "Then bring it on." Behind the scenes, I called in a property disputes attorney. She said we had a shot not just because of the notice issue, but because their aggression smelled like overreach. Still, Mara wasn't slowing down. The HOA sent me a formal demand letter, jacked up the rent threat, even hinted at eviction from the communal land. Neighbors started taking sides. Some gave me quiet nods of support. Others wouldn't meet my eyes, afraid to cross the HOA. Mara held public community standards meetings where she painted me as a troublemaker who refused to be part of progress. That's when I decided this wasn't going to be just a legal fight. I was going to hit them where it hurt their image. I started knocking on doors. Mr. Lewis, 2 houses down, leaned on his cane and whispered like we were in a spy movie. They've been pulling stunts like this for years. Last summer, they made the Thompsons repaint their house, said the blue was too cheerful. Piece by piece, I collected stories, arbitrary rule changes, fines for lawn chairs left out overnight, community improvement fees that seemed to vanish, and at the center of every story, Mara. Then came my first twist of luck, Mrs. Garcia on the corner. She handed me a dusty folder of old HOA meeting minutes she'd kept for insurance. Inside votes taken behind closed doors, expenses for consultations with law firms that didn't exist, authorization for projects never started. It was a gold mine. I scanned everything and sent it to my attorney. The next morning she called. Tom, this isn't just a property dispute anymore. If these expenses link back to personal gain, we're looking at fraud. I felt my first real spark of hope. That afternoon, I upped the pressure. I emailed Mara and CC'd the whole board. I have documents showing financial irregularities and improper notice regarding the boundary expansion. Remove the fence from my property within 5 business days, or I'll file a formal complaint with the county with this evidence attached. An hour later, my phone rang. Mara's voice was ice. This is harassment. No, I said evenly, this is me giving you a chance to fix your mistake before the county and the press hear about it. Silence. I'd hit a nerve. By evening, neighbors were buzzing. A few knocked on my door, ready to testify about their own HOA nightmares. The tide was shifting. Then came the day that changed everything. The county inspector showed up. Clipboard, measuring tape, serious expression. She walked the fence line, took notes, frowned a lot. 2 hours later, she called. The fence encroaches nearly 10 feet onto your property. No permits, no proper notice. I'm filing my report today. I could have hugged her. At the next HOA board meeting, the room was packed. Mara tried to keep her composure, but the whispers were deafening. I stood and spoke loud enough for the back row. You've been abusing your power, forcing illegal boundaries, demanding rent for land you don't own, and now the county says this fence comes down. Then the second twist. Mara's phone rang mid-meeting. She stepped outside, came back pale. Word spread fast. The HOA president, her right-hand man, had just been arrested for embezzling community funds thanks to the very documents I'd unearthed. The room exploded. Board members turned on Mara. Neighbors openly confronted her. Within a week, the fence was gone. Rent refunds went out. Mara resigned in disgrace. The county issued a public warning to every HOA in the area. Illegal expansions would be met with fines. Standing in my garden, sunlight spilling across the freshly turned earth, Emily hugged me from behind. You did it, she whispered. No, I said, looking out at the neighbors who had stood up with me. We did it. The weeks after were strange, peaceful but charged. The garden was whole again, but the real victory was the shift in the air. People who'd been silent started talking. The local paper ran a front-page piece. The new HOA board promised transparency, open meetings, and real notice to every property owner. County officials started reviewing other HOAs. Of course, not everyone was happy. A few of Mara's old allies sent anonymous notes, little jabs meant to rattle me. But every time Emily and I planted something new in the reclaimed soil, it felt like we were planting more than vegetables. We were planting the idea that you don't have to take it when someone in a suit shows up and says, you do now. One warm afternoon, Mrs. Jensen, our oldest neighbor, stopped by with a paper packet of sunflower seeds. You've stirred the hornet's nest, she said with a wry smile. But sometimes the hornets need stirring. We planted those sunflowers along the line where the fence had stood tall, stubborn, bright against the sky. And I realized this fight had never really been about tomatoes or property lines. It was about standing your ground when someone tries to redraw it under your feet. As the sun dipped low and the garden glowed gold, I knew we'd won more than a dispute. We'd won back the right to decide what's ours. You know what I mean?